Lesson 8, Importing Revit Content into CADmep. Autodesk Fabrication CADmep has the ability to convert certain Autodesk Revit MEP design intent content into Fabrication CADmep fabrication intent items. Leveraging design information created in Revit can greatly increase productivity by reducing the time and effort needed to create detailed fabrication drawings. There are two methods for exporting Revit content so that it can be used within CADmep. The first method is Store Design Line Elements. This method should be used where Revit elements can be mapped to corresponding items in CADmep. These are usually standard elements such as ducts, pipes, cable trays, straights, and fittings. This process will convert the Revit system to a CADmep design line. The second method, Store Graphic Elements, should be used where no mapping can be made between Revit elements and CADmep items. A custom Revit family of an air handling unit would be an example of a Revit element with no corresponding CADmep item. The raw geometry of the exported Revit elements is used to create CADmep items with the connectors at the correct locations. Both methods can be used at the same time during an export process. Autodesk Revit or Autodesk Revit MEP must be installed before Fabrication CADmep is installed so that the Revit to CADmep add-in for Revit is properly installed. Until you become proficient with the Revit export functionality, use Store Design Line Elements for all transport items such as piping, ducts, conduit, and cable trays, and use Store Graphic Elements for supply and demand equipment such as pumps, lavatories, diffusers, panels, and light fixtures. This recommended practice will be used in the exercise. For this lesson, you'll do the following. Export design line and graphic elements from Revit. Import into CADmep. The first method uses the Store Design Line Elements command. Start Autodesk Revit or Autodesk Revit MEP and select Open. Browse to the exercise folder and open Export to CADmep.rvt. Once the Revit model loads, select the 1-Mech view, Project Browser, Views, Mechanical, HVAC, Floor Plans, 1-Mech. The first floor ductwork plan appears. Select all of the Revit elements in the model. On the Revit ribbon, select the Filter tool. The Filter dialog appears. Deselect Air Terminals. Air terminals are also known as diffusers. Only duct accessories, duct fittings, and ducts remain selected. Click OK. The air terminals and section view are no longer highlighted. Click the Add-ins tab on the ribbon and select the Store Design Line Elements button. The highlighted Revit elements are ready for export as design line elements. Select all the Revit elements in the model a second time. Choose the Filter command and remove all but air terminals from the selection set. Select OK and only the air terminals are highlighted. On the Revit Add-ins tab, select Store Graphics Elements. The diffusers are ready for export as graphic elements. Click Out to export the elements. A Save As window appears. Browse to the exercise folder, name the file, Export Elements, and click Save. The resulting RIF contains the selected elements in both Stored Design Line and Stored Graphics formats. Revit will not be needed again and may be closed. Start Fabrication CADmep. Open import.dwg from the exercise folder. This is an empty drawing. From the CADmep toolbar, select Import Run of item or type Process Run in the command line. The Process Data File window appears. Browse to the folder where you saved the .rif file. Select exportelements.rif and click Open. If a process map file has already been established, the Mappings window appears. If the process mapping has not been set, the Browse for Mapping File window appears. By default, the Revit Process Mappings.map file is located in the CADmep configuration folder. If the Browse for Mapping File window appears, browse to the Imperial Content folder located at C, Users, Public, Public Documents, Autodesk, Fabrication 2015, Imperial Content, and the version. Pick Revit Process Mappings.map and select Open. The Mappings window appears. This allows you to map the exported Revit elements to the appropriate CADmep items. Design intent models, such as those created with Revit, do not model component connections at their required level of development for fabrication. Generally, Revit elements are modeled face-to-face. Fabrication-level detail requires accurate real-world connection modeling so that processes such as prefabrication, bills of materials, and final trade coordination are correct. Revit elements are organized or grouped as systems, whereas CADmep items are grouped as services. The Services tab displays columns labeled System Type, System Name, Service Name, Specification, and Ignore. System Type and System Name display the system information that was exported from Revit. The service name and specification may show mapped values if this command has been run before, or if CADmep services have been properly set up by your CAD manager. If these values are blank, the next steps will map Revit MEP systems to CADmep services. If you see that the values are already set, you can still follow these instructions to verify all settings for this exercise. If there are multiple systems, it's possible to set the service name, pressure class, and ignore status for multiple system types in one step by selecting multiple lines. Select the supply air listing and right-click for a shortcut menu. Choose Edit. The Mappings Edit dialog appears. Whatever settings you enter here are applied to all selected system types. The service name and specification, also known as the pressure class, for this system are blank and must be assigned to the appropriate CADmep services. Click in the empty field where the system's service name should be shown. It currently shows none. A drop-down menu appears which lists all the predefined services in CADmep. Click the down arrow to expand the list of ADSK HVAC services to find the Supply Air service. Select this service. Click the empty field where the service's specification should be displayed. This is also called the pressure class. Select the +2 WG design specification for this service. Any of the Revit systems can be eliminated from the import process by changing the Ignore setting from No to Yes. Select Close to save these settings and exit the window. Click the Fitting Ignores tab. Fittings are also known as equipment. All of the exported Revit elements are listed. All fittings have Ignore set to No as a default and will be imported. You'll change this setting so that only inline and end-of-line fittings will be imported. Examples of inline equipment include fire dampers and access panels. These types of items are within the line of ductwork. Examples of end-of-line equipment include supply diffusers, also known as grills, and plenum boxes. These types of items are at the end of a ductwork run. Note that CADmep can automatically convert the imported Revit system to a CADmep design line, but CADmep cannot automatically convert Revit inline and end-of-line equipment to CADmep items. This is why you set Fitting Ignores to No for these items and map them to CADmep items. Your task is to change all items except the inline and end-of-line fittings or equipment to have Ignore set to Yes. The two lines that are fire dampers are to remain set to No. Select the first line. Type Ctrl-A to select all of the listed fitting types. With all the fittings highlighted, hold down the Control key and select both fire dampers. These two lines will be deselected. Right-click and a shortcut menu appears. Place the cursor over the Ignore menu item and select Yes. All fittings except the two inline or end-of-line fittings show an Ignore value of Yes. You now map the inline and end-of-line items to button codes. Select the Service tab again and highlight the Supply Air System listing. Right-click and select Map Items. The Item Mappings dialog appears. Highlight the line item named Fire Damper, Rectangular, Simple, Standard. Click the empty field where the button code value should be displayed. In the drop-down menu that appears, expand the list of predefined button codes. Locate and select the FD flanged button code. Select the line item named Fire Damper, Round, Standard and choose the FD Spigot button code. Select OK to exit the Item Mappings window. Click OK to begin the import process. The converted Revit elements will appear within the CADmep drawing window. Zoom or pan if necessary to see the newly created items. Change AutoCAD views and visual styles if you wish to see the imported 3D model. Restore your view and visual style if necessary, and zoom in to the central supply duct where the branch ducts appear. Double-click on a straight duct. Avoid clicking on the design line. The Item Properties window appears for this item. This item was imported from Revit using the Store as Design Line element method. Notice that the seam type, connector type, and dimensions are set to the service specification assigned during the mapping process. Click Cancel to return to the drawing. Double-click on a hanger. The Item Properties window appears. This item was also imported from Revit using the Store as Design Line element method. Click Cancel to return to the drawing. Double-click on a diffuser. The Item Properties window appears. This item was imported from Revit using the Store as Graphics Elements method. Notice that the information is limited to basic dimensions that are not related to a service specification. Click Cancel to return to the drawing.